The challenges that I faced in manifesting the things that I deemed impossible, that I couldn't wrap my head around, is what I am going to talk about in this video. If any of them relate to you, then I hope it will help you. If you have further questions, leave them below in the comments section. So, everybody is operating from a different belief system, their awareness mix, so to speak. So, my understanding took a while because, first of all, I got lost in the YouTube mess of videos and coaches and bad coaches. Until and unless I came upon one very thorough and straightforward coach. And it took me a huge learning curve to even understand what this person was talking about. So here's the thing to understand. The right teacher is there, but unless your belief systems are a little bit wider or open, even to grasp them or to get the version of them that you can understand is going to take a while. So that is why I don't expect everybody to get everything right off the bat. You have to understand a lot of the good teachers are fewer in numbers, and they're not necessarily the most popular. So don't judge a book by its appearance or cover, so to speak. Anyways, what helps somebody else, what helps 20,000 people, may be completely useless to you. And you're going to have to learn to navigate the world like this until and unless you can start changing the versions of all 8 billion people. But I'm pretty sure right now you'd only like to change the version of at least 1 or 2 max because you're new. And that's a good place to start. We all start there. But ultimately, this is your cubic matter waking dream. And yes, you can have total dominance over your world, your cubic matter dream, no matter how real it seems. So anyways, back to the challenges I faced. First of all, just navigating out of the crap took me forever, took me years. And that's a very bad thing. Lost a lot of money. Yes. That is why you will find that I don't really care to even turn this into a business. First of all, I don't have assumptions and belief systems that are going to go in that direction because my energy is being spent on other avenues in my life. Second of all, I know the struggles I went through, and if there is anybody else who can benefit from this without having to, ruin their lives trying to pay for coaching, then I'm happy to help. Make no mistake, the information I share is very thorough and it's correct. I have been through almost every known coaching channel on this YouTube platform. Maybe not all, but the top ones. And I only recommend 1 and maximum 2. You can find those recommendations on my community site I don't keep them secret, but I'm not going to waste my video on other coaches and other people. I'm just going to tell you about my challenges and my experience so that you understand how you too can navigate yourself into the correct path. Like I said, my recommendations may not even apply to you because something or someone else works for you. And that's actually a fact. Okay, so now that you understand what works for somebody else may not necessarily work for you, you just have to figure out a lot of things on this journey, so to speak, even though it should never be called a journey, but lack of a better word, you should figure out a lot of things for yourself. But I'm here to guide you and give you as much help as possible so that it's a lot easier and you get to your destination faster. Okay, so going through wrong coaches helped me zero, meaning it made my life worse. The years I spent with the wrong coaches that were wrong for me, no matter how much I tried to figure out their teachings and techniques, was completely a waste of time. However, the only good thing was I now know which channels to never play because they are so irrelevant to me at this point. And I don't care to change their versions because right now I barely just figured everything out for myself. And my focus is to create my world, my dominance, my reality. And that's going to take the time that it takes. Okay, so once I did find correct guidance, and again, I do recommend the coach, the only one and maximum 2 coaches. I do have those recommendations on my channel. You just have to search for it or look under the free discussion board and it's there. It's no secret. I know what works for me. But here's the thing. The knowledge that I'm giving you is basic true knowledge. All coaches should know that, and most of them do. However, their limitations is what they teach through. You, depending on what your needs are and what your desires are, may very well just get great success from the run-of-the-mill any coach on YouTube. Because you maybe just want to manifest a stick of gum, or you just want to manifest a blue Tesla. Doesn't matter. I don't know. I don't care. But for those of you looking for above and beyond, where everything stops, no human person can answer your questions, no one can understand your pain, your desires, this is the right place to start at. And yes, there are people who do know this knowledge truly and thoroughly, and no matter how advanced they are the right people when it comes to really understanding this stuff. So if you are already listening to this video and on this channel, you're going to understand the stuff that I talk about bypasses all limited gibberish that you hear on YouTube. Minutes and hours of yapping. This is not yapping. This is what it really is. The basic foundational knowledge. The truth that is your birthright. So once I started getting the guidance, my main focus, believe it or not, was to cover the expenses of coaching, because coaching is not free and it's not cheap. But I knew what I was doing this time, and I knew I was getting the correct information, because by route of elimination, by process of elimination, I now knew what didn't work, so all that was left was what was going to work. I took the long route. Hopefully you don't have to. Once I started getting the coaching, it took me months, and I will say pretty much a couple of years before everything settled in my brain, before things started to take root. You can listen to this information once, twice, 3 times, and it still won't stick with you, because you're still awake in the dream, but you don't know how reality functions, and you don't know how to dominate your dream. So you're just gripping and struggling and trying to survive. You can be in survival mode for a long time before you come out of it. And that's okay. You don't need to do any kind of fancy nervous system regulations and stuff once you understand this basic stuff. Okay, so getting the correct information, digesting it, making it make sense. Now remember, it's coming through, no matter how advanced and thorough this teacher is, it's still coming through a human being, and I have to understand it for myself. And almost like you have to apply it, but it's not really application, it's just grasping it in your own way. So you have to let that happen. You have to allow the information to sink and take hold and create a picture or a concept for you that you can work from. Remember, we all work with concepts and ideas. Real, true, false, it doesn't matter. It just works. We call them concepts. They might be real and they might be factual. That's all right. Or they may not. It doesn't matter. But that's what you need. You need to understand the whole game. You need to understand the gamer. You need to understand the 3-dimensional laws that the game is projecting through. Okay? And you have to understand why and how things work and what to do in between. It sounds complicated, but it's not. So back to challenges that I had faced. So these were some major challenges. It may sound like I'm giving you a story that's, that I can finish in 5 to 10 minutes, but trust me when I say it was not fun. Losing a lot of money, going through really bad coaches who are just, in my opinion, extremely limited, until I found good enough knowledge for myself. And then I had to build on top of that, because my limitations and boundaries opened up, my belief systems grew, and I expanded, and I wanted to understand more. So, in a way, I will say that I am pretty advanced. Doesn't mean that I have to coach, doesn't mean I need 1 million followers, because that is not my interest. And I don't want to spend my energy that I do have in the 24 hours that I have in a day on this part. But I do want to share the information as much as possible, because I know the need and the struggle and the pain, even though it's all going to go away, I know what it feels like to be in the middle of it. So once I started letting the information sink in, I started to teach it to myself and others in my community, because I just knew there had to be answers. And then I started to decide that I knew the answers, and guess what? The answers started coming to me, flooding, flowing through me. Too much information within hours, within days, months. My body went through incredible physical changes. I went through life regularly, ups and downs, whatever. But I kept going because I knew that I had opened Pandora's box. And I was determined to digest this knowledge and see it all the way through. I will say that I have reached quite a good level of understanding, yet I will not call myself a master in the way that I think masters are. I can't make things appear, disappear with a click on my fingers, etc. However, I will admit I'm pretty good and I'm pretty advanced. I am still practicing my own manifestations because guess what? I still have my desires to fulfill and take care of. So now that you know, if you are looking for help, feel free to look at my community. You can ask me questions there and you'll see the coach that I recommend. I literally only listen to one person. And at this point, I spend more time listening to myself than I do to anybody else. I just go back for reference because I've you can say I've graduated from a certain level onto an advanced level. And when I do talk with that coach, I talk on a different level. It's no longer seeking for knowledge. It's for going back and forth and brainstorming. Okay? So that was my challenging journey, the challenges that I faced. I will tell you this much. If you're shopping, looking around, over-consuming, stop that right now. First, to get very clear, and I mean crystal clear, very, 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 very clear on your desires. Write them down. Rewrite them down. Day after day. If your desires are changing every few days, you do not have a steady consciousness. I'm going to tell you that. Lack of a better word. There's nothing wrong with it, because here's the thing. You're going to build your world, and you're going to build it once. If your desires are still fleeting thoughts that change when your identity changes, when a commercial comes on, when somebody speaks to you a certain way, when the weather is different, you don't know what you want. And it's okay to be there. I was there. But this is what I figured. I figured I wanted something so bad that I, at one point for a great amount of time, was a version of myself whose desires were completely different from when I started out in this manifestation thing. However, my challenge was I wanted to re-desire those desires because that was the most fucked up thing ever. I truly became a person, a version of me who no longer desired a specific person in a romantic way. I no longer had the desires I set out to manifest. And I, for the life of me, could not figure out what to do in order to re-desire them. That's when I learned I can choose an identity. Meaning I can visit and embody and become aware and conscious of the version of me who has those things, aka desires those things. So my challenge was twofold. First, to get the correct information, then literally not desiring those things anymore, but then being haunted by the thought why I couldn't desire them, and forcing myself to desire them was not working. And my desires were changing into something random that I didn't choose. So I was still not in control, and I didn't know how to be in control, where to start from. Identity, the observer, that's where you start. You always choose the vessel, the experiencer, the observer, the identity, the awareness, the version. That's where you start. Once you get that, you can keep flipping, choosing, playing around, experimenting. Doesn't matter. They're all real versions. Until you settle and decide how you want to construct your world. It literally is a game. But you have to know how to play the game. Who plays the game is the real question. Okay? So don't get thrown off by these words, but try to just sit back, relax, and understand what I'm trying to teach you or share with you. Because we all go through this, we just don't know what's happening to us. And we don't know what to do, we just accept and move on. If I had accepted my version who stopped desiring a specific person, who completely lost all the desires that they had set out to manifest, was starting to desire something else, I would not be here. If I had just accepted that. Because it was going to be a different life. Possibly not bad. I wouldn't have lost money or years or none of that stuff. But I just couldn't let it go. I had to figure out what I needed to do. And the answer was who I needed to be. There's infinite yous, there's infinite who's. The observer, the experiencer, the avatar, the identity, the awareness, the version, etc. You get it, right? Multi-world, multiverse, multiple yous, infinite yous in every one of them, physically. So once you get that picture in your head, it becomes a lot easier to conduct from then onwards. You can even still decide to embody different version and get rid of your old desires, take on new desires, doesn't matter. That's totally up to you. But at this point, you're doing it under control. You're in control of it. Meaning, it's not just randomly coming to you. You actually are choosing it for yourself or not choosing it for yourself. Now, this video may or may not make sense to you, but I'm guessing it is going to make sense to a lot of people. Because we do face these things, but there is no one to answer these questions for us. Literally, not a single person is addressing these. They are teaching you about the grand and fancy I am, and the ideal and best versions of you, and how to think positive, and how to do some affirmations, and how to do the frills, bells, and whistles, and success stories. But when everything is dark and quiet, this is what haunts people. Not knowing what's next. So now you know. Everything starts with a who, the you, the version of you. You're not one body. You never were. You never will be. I am is dreaming through the third dimension, wearing a vessel called you, a garment, body called you, who is also not just one and singular. You are available in infinite forms, look alike to differently alike. But we deal with adjacent, look-alike, multiple, multi-worlds, look-alike universes that we call versions, meaning slightly different outcomes, slightly different storylines, but almost everything and everyone looks and appears the same as the previous one, yet unrelated and different. Parallel realities. Check out that video. So, listen to this video again if you need to understand what I am talking about, and if you feel like this applies to you. I'm pretty sure it will answer a lot of your questions. So yes, you can come to such a point of control where you can decide what you're going to desire and what you're going to manifest, even if you lose your desire for it. So never fear that you're going to have to manifest something or someone general. Always know that you still have a choice. And whether you choose to or not, that's totally up to you. But never let it happen because you didn't know how. Now you know. The how is the who, the you. Anyways, those were my challenging years. Those were some challenging times. And I'm a completely different person today, so that's just one story I'm telling you. And I'm sure if you are struggling or in a similar situation, it'll help you out a lot. So, correct knowledge is where you need to start. You need your foundations, you need your concepts, and then you need to build yourself and your belief systems from then onwards. And then the world is your oyster, as they say. So again, leave your questions or comments below, and I'll talk to you in the next video.